Guys, welcome to another video, and this video is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be doing a list of my favorite movies from A to Z. This video is a little bit different because I haven't done a video like this before. I wanted to do this video a while ago because I actually made this list years ago, but I never actually uploaded it to YouTube, and I just wanted to make this list, and so, yeah. Let's get started. I'm going to do it from A to Z, starting with a number, and then I'm going to go on from A to Z. So, yeah. My favorite movie that starts with a number is 12 Angry Men. If you haven't seen 12 Angry Men, this movie is awesome. It's a very, very important movie. The acting is great in this movie. Henry Fonda's performance as Juror 8 is so good. He's awesome in this movie, so is Lee J. Cobb. They're both so good in this movie. I love this movie a lot, and it's so awesome. And a very important movie. Definitely my favorite movie of the 1950s, and my favorite black and white movie. I love 12 Angry Men. I haven't talked too much about this movie on my channel, but I don't even think I have talked about this movie on my channel, but it's so good. I love 12 Angry Men. Solid movie. And then starting with A, my favorite movie that starts with an A is Avengers Endgame. Yep, you all know I love Avengers Endgame. It's my favorite MCU movie. I've talked a lot about it. I talked about it in my tier ranking of the MCU movies. And I talked about it in my top 20 favorite superhero movies. And it's my second favorite movie, just behind Inception of the last decade. I talked about it in my top 10 favorite movies of the 2010s. It's so good. I love this movie a lot. Really great visuals. One of the best superhero movies. This movie is phenomenal. I love Avengers Endgame. The musical score is great. The visuals are great. The effects are great. Especially the final battle is great, too. And so, yeah, love Avengers Endgame. You all know I love Avengers Endgame. If you know my channel, you know I love Avengers Endgame. And then at B is Blade Runner. Yep. Blade Runner is also a really great movie as well. I love Harrison Ford as Rick Deckard, and the acting is great in this movie too. Harrison Ford's so good in this movie. I love the main villain, Roy Batty. He's awesome as well. The acting is really great in this movie, and the visuals are great too in both versions, especially the final cut. The visuals are even better in the final cut. The visuals are great in the director's cut too. Both are great too. And I love this movie a lot. Blade Runner is a solid masterpiece. You all know I love Blade Runner. I mean, God, I say that all the time. I actually haven't talked a lot about Blade Runner, but anyone who knows me probably knows I like Blade Runner. But I haven't talked about Blade Runner a lot on my channel. But, yeah, Blade Runner is also one of my favorite movies as well. Love Blade Runner. And then at C would have to be City Lights. Yeah, City Lights is great. I love City Lights. The acting is great in this movie. I love the black and white cinematography. It's great. And probably my second favorite black and white movie, just behind 12 Angry Men. The music is great in this movie. I love the music. Everything is great in this movie. It's beautiful. I love the melodrama, romantic comedy. It's great. I love the melodramedy. It's great. I love City Lights. I haven't talked too much about this movie on my channel either. There's a lot of movies on this list probably that are coming up that I haven't talked a lot about on my channel. And so, yeah, I love City Lights. Definitely one of my favorite movies I've seen. Love City Lights. And then at D would have to be The Dark Knight. Now, I've talked about this movie so many times. You all know I love this movie. If you don't know my channel, just check out my other videos. I've talked a lot about The Dark Knight. I talked about it in my very first video I uploaded, my tier ranking of the Batman movies. And I talked about it in my top 20 favorite superhero movies. And I love The Dark Knight. It's awesome. If you want to know my opinion on The Dark Knight, if you don't know my channel, just watch some of my other videos. Yeah, I love The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger's so good as the Joker, and that's probably the best acting performance in any movie is Heath Ledger as the Joker. His acting performance is great, and Christian Bale is so good in this movie too. And so, yeah, I love The Dark Knight. Great movie. And then at E would have to be The Empire Strikes Back. Yep, I love The Empire Strikes Back. You all know I love this movie. I've talked about it a lot. I talked about it in my tier ranking of the Star Wars movies, and I talked about it in my top 10 movies that should have been nominated for Best Picture. And so, yeah, I love this movie. It's great. Love this movie a lot. The Empire Strikes Back is a great movie. My favorite Star Wars movie. Han Solo shines in this movie. All the characters shine. Darth Vader shines. He's even more powerful in this movie. And yeah, the visuals and acting is great, and the action scenes are awesome as well. Like, the action scenes are great. I love The Empire Strikes Back. Very, love the effects and very entertaining. It's great. Love The Empire Strikes Back. And then F is Forrest Gump. I love Forrest Gump as well. This is definitely one of Tom Hanks' best movies. Probably his best performance. And he won for Best Actor in this movie, and he deserved it. He was so good in this movie. And this movie actually even won for Best Picture, and I can see why. It came out in 1994. It also, because 1994 was a big year for movies. Pulp Fiction came out that year, and so did Shawshank Redemption. I wouldn't say it was better than those two movies, because they won over those movies, but I still love Forrest Gump. It's so awesome. Forrest Gump is great. Love the music in this movie. And Robert Zemeckis did such a good job with this movie. I love Forrest Gump. The acting is great. And it got emotional, too. Yeah, Forrest Gump is a solid masterpiece. One of my favorite movies as well. Love Forrest Gump. And then G would have to be Goodfellas. Yep, I'm wearing this shirt right now. Goodfellas. Yep. Goodfellas is great. I loved Goodfellas. The acting is great in this movie. Ray Liotta so good in this movie. So is Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. They're all really great in this movie. I'll have to say Goodfellas is probably... I would have to say this is actually my favorite movie. I know a while ago I said The Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie, but I've seen this movie twice now. I watched it a few years ago and loved it then, but I rewatched it. I saw it again in theaters, and I loved it even more than I did the first time. They were both good the second time, but they were both good both times I saw it, but the second time it was even better. And yeah, this definitely has to be my favorite movie. I love Goodfellas. It's great. The everything is great about this movie. The acting is great. The story is great too, and yeah, I love Goodfellas. I liked Robert De Niro as Jimmy Conway. He's so good, and Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito's the main villain. He's intense, and so I love Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito. He makes an awesome villain in this movie, and so yeah, Tommy DeVito's so good in this movie. And then at H would have to be the Harry Potter franchise. Just all the Harry Potter movies. I love Harry Potter. Harry Potter's great. All of them are great. I love the first two, and the third one's great. 4 is great. 5 is good, but it's definitely the lowest out of all of them. 6 is good, but the last 2 are awesome. Especially the very last one, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. That's my favorite Harry Potter movie. I love that one a lot. And I love Harry Potter. I did a tier ranking of the Harry Potter movies. I think that was my 3rd video I uploaded, or could have been 3rd or 4th. I don't know. But I love Harry Potter a lot. Harry Potter's great. None of the Harry Potter movies are actually bad. Even the Fantastic Beasts movies, they're okay, but they're not amazing. But they're okay, but they're not bad. None of the Harry Potter movies I've seen are bad. There hasn't been one bad Harry Potter movie. That's great. I love Harry Potter. Harry Potter's awesome. I love Harry Potter. And then at I would have to be It's a Wonderful Life. I love It's a Wonderful Life. The acting is great in this movie, and definitely my favorite Christmas movie. I talked about it in my top 10 favorite Christmas movies last year. And I gotta watch it again because Christmas is coming up. And so, yeah, I love Harry Potter. God, brain fart. I just talked about Harry Potter last. No, It's a Wonderful Life. But funny, actually, the main villain in this movie is called Mr. Potter. That's probably why I got messed up for a second. But yeah, It's a Wonderful Life is great. And the main villain, Mr. Potter, Henry F. Potter, he's definitely one of my favorite Christmas villains. He's a perfect villain for this movie. And then I really like George Bailey as the main hero, because if it wasn't for him, Mr. Potter would be running the town and it would be terrible, because the town needs George Bailey. He's perfect. He's a really good person. And so, yeah, love this movie. Great movie. It's a Wonderful Life is awesome. And then Jay would have to be Joker. I loved Joker as well. Joker was great. I love this movie. The Joaquin Phoenix is so good in this movie. I would say Joaquin Phoenix is definitely the best Joker since Heath Ledger. The acting is so good in this movie, and the plot is great of how he becomes the Joker. It's the most realistic origin story for the Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is so good as Arthur Fleck, aka the Joker. This movie's awesome. And it's probably definitely the most realistic comic book movie. And so, yeah, Joker is awesome. And I can't wait for Joker 2 next year. And so, yeah, I love Joker. And then at K would have to be actually Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon was awesome. I loved Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon was amazing. I actually just saw it a month ago or so. Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon was really great, but it was also really long. That's the only gripe I have with this movie, is that it's really, really long. But otherwise, this movie is phenomenal. Leonardo DiCaprio is so good in this movie. And so is Robert De Niro. And everyone's great in this movie. And I love this movie a lot. Killers of the Flower Moon is so good. And most definitely the longest movie I've ever seen in theaters. I don't think I'll ever watch a movie longer than that in theaters, because normally I don't like to sit in theaters for a very long time. Killers of the Flower Moon was long, but great. Loved Killers of the Flower Moon. Definitely one of Martin Scorsese's best movies. But he's got to make his movies a little shorter between this and The Irishman. They were both really long movies. This is definitely one of the longest movies I've ever seen. But Killers of the Flower Moon was great, but very long. And so, yep. But otherwise, love Killers of the Flower Moon. Really, really solid movie. I love Killers of the Flower Moon. Great movie. Definitely one of the best movies of the year. Killers of the Flower Moon was great. And then L would have to be the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's great. Lord of the Rings is awesome. The third one, Return of the King, is the best one. This one, Return of the King, even proves that third installments can be great. I love Lord of the Rings. It's awesome. This is definitely one of, if not my favorite trilogy in movies. It's a fight between either that, or it's a fight between Lord of the Rings and the original Star Wars trilogy. Both of them are great. Both are really great trilogies. This might be my favorite trilogy. All three of them are great. All three are epic masterpieces. I loved these movies. They're really great. Lord of the Rings is awesome. Lord of the Rings is great. If you haven't seen them, definitely give the first one a watch at least. All three of them are really great. Definitely. I remember I watched these movies about 5 years ago, and I really loved them. Lord of the Rings is awesome. Definitely the best fantasy movies I've seen. Love Lord of the Rings. And then M would have to be Modern Times. Yeah, Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times. Yeah, another Charlie Chaplin movie. I love this movie a lot. This has to be Charlie Chaplin's most funniest movie. The scene with the eating machine. Oh God, that part was so funny. And that part where he's screwing, and then he goes into this machine and he's in there, and it's so funny when he's in the factory. The factory is the funniest part. And this movie's pretty funny as well. I love this movie. Modern Times is great. They even had a clip of this movie in Joker. Because I talked about Joker a few minutes ago, and the clip this was actually in Joker. That scene where they're roller skating. I love that part as well. Modern Times is a great movie. I loved Modern Times. My favorite part where he was that part where he was singing at the end, towards the end of the movie, and the ending had a really beautiful shot. Yeah, I love Modern Times. Really great movie. Definitely one of probably my second favorite Charlie Chaplin movie. Love Modern Times. And then N would have to be North by Northwest. Yeah, North by Northwest is very. This is definitely one of Alfred Hitchcock's best movie. One of his best movies. I love North by Northwest, and yeah, Cary Grant was so good in this movie, and I love this movie a lot. Definitely really, really great. That scene with the airplane is so awesome. The most iconic part. The story is great too. Alfred Hitchcock did such a good job with this movie. And I think this movie was 1958 or 1959, I believe. Yeah, 1959. And definitely one of the best movies of the 1950s. Really great movie. Loved North by Northwest. Really great movie. Loved North by Northwest. And then O would have to be Oppenheimer. Yep, Oppenheimer was also really great. Cillian Murphy is so good in this movie. This probably has to be his best movie. Cillian Murphy's so good in this movie. I love him a lot in this movie. And as Robert Oppenheimer, this is also a very important movie. This is definitely one of the best movies of the year. I loved Oppenheimer. It was so awesome. And it was amazing. Definitely really great. And pretty historically accurate, too. And the bomb testing scene is definitely my favorite part of the entire movie. And the acting is great in this movie. One of Christopher Nolan's best movies. Probably maybe my second favorite Nolan movie, just behind The Dark Knight, or maybe third. It's definitely in my top 3. I love this movie a lot. I talked about it in my tier ranking of the Christopher Nolan movies. Christopher Nolan did such a good job with this movie. This has to be his best movie since The Dark Knight, Inception. Love his movie. Love Oppenheimer. Really great movie. And then P would have to be Pulp Fiction. Yep, I love Pulp Fiction a lot. Samuel L. Jackson is so good in this movie, and so is John Travolta, Uma Thurman, and I love this movie a lot. Bruce Willis is so good in this movie too. I love the dark comedy as well. It's pretty funny, and the plot's so great in this movie. And I like how they have the scenes out of order. It's a little confusing when you first see it, but I've seen it a few times. And I actually, before I started watching this, because I remember I was too young to watch this movie, but I watched parts of it, and so I did understand the chronological order, but I didn't see it all the way through. But now I did about four years ago or so, I finally saw this movie all the way through, and it was so great. And I've seen it a lot. I've seen this movie a lot now. It's a very rewatchable movie, and I love Pulp Fiction. Definitely my favorite movie of the 1990s. Love Pulp Fiction. Really great movie. Definitely love Pulp Fiction. Q would probably, and then Q. Q is A Quiet Place. Yeah, this is the only movie I can think of that actually starts with Q, and I love A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place was great, and I love this movie a lot. It was a really good horror movie. Definitely one of the better modern horror movies. I love A Quiet Place. It's really great. Definitely, for sure, one of the best modern horror movies I've seen. I love A Quiet Place. And yeah, A Quiet Place is awesome. So it is a fun movie. It's hard to watch at times. I remember I was on the edge of my seat when I first saw this movie. And yeah, it's great. I love A Quiet Place. And I remember I wasn't too afraid to watch this movie because it was actually PG-13. It wasn't R. And it's a little scary, but you know, I've seen more scary movies than this, and so yeah. I love A Quiet Place, so really great movie. And then R would be Rear Window. Yep, I love Rear Window as well. Rear Window is really great. Another Alfred Hitchcock movie that's on this list. I love this movie a lot. This is probably my favorite. This and Psycho is my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie. I can't choose a favorite because I love Psycho as well. But Rear Window is my favorite movie. My favorite movie that starts with an R. I love Rear Window. Rear Window is great. The acting is really great in this movie. Jimmy Stewart's so good in this movie. And yeah, and it takes place in just his apartment, and it's really great. The cinematography is really great in this movie. It's really great in this movie. I love Alfred Hitchcock did such a good job with this movie. And yeah, I really like it a lot. It's only set in one room, but it's so awesome. I love this movie a lot. Between this and 12 Angry Men, both movies that are just set in one room, it's great. Yeah, I love Rear Window. Really great movie. Either one, a tie between this and Psycho are my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movies. Love Rear Window. And then S would have to be the Star Wars, the very first Star Wars. Yep, I love this movie a lot. Star Wars is great. And this started off the whole Star Wars movies, and it was so awesome. And this movie was ahead of its time. And probably my second favorite sci-fi movie behind the Empire Strikes Back, and my second favorite Star Wars movie. I love the very first Star Wars. It's great. And those two are the best Star Wars movies. And I love Star Wars. I like how it opened when you first see Darth Vader. That's like the best villain introduction to any movie. The villain introduction was perfect. And the scene where the Death Star gets destroyed is like that's one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, and one of the best action scenes in movies. I love the very first Star Wars, very like nostalgic, and I love Star Wars. The very first one's awesome. And then T would have to be Taxi Driver. I love Taxi Driver as well. Robert De Niro is so good in this movie. You talking to me? You talking to me? Yeah. Martin Scorsese did such a good job with this movie. I love Taxi Driver. And this is definitely one of Robert De Niro's best performances. I love Taxi Driver. And yeah, it's a very intense movie too. And it's very brutal towards the end. And yeah, definitely one of the best psychological movies I've ever seen. A really good psychological drama, and a great movie. I love this movie. Really good psychological drama thriller. I love Taxi Driver. One of Martin Scorsese's best movies. Martin Scorsese did such a good job with this movie. And then U would have to be Up. Yep, Up is really great. Up is definitely great. One of my favorite animated movies. I love I like the friendship between Russell and Carl Fredricksen. They're both this movie is great. The animation, the colors are beautiful, and definitely one of the best Pixar movies. I've talked a lot about this movie in my tier ranking of the Pixar movies. I love Up. Up is so great. Pete Docter did such a good job with this movie. Yeah, Up is beautiful. I love the animation. The colors are beautiful. And then V is Vertigo. Yep, another Alfred Hitchcock movie. I love Vertigo as well. And I remember I saw this movie actually in theaters in Stanford and Palo Alto. And I remember watching it. That one scene, though, where he was having his nightmare, it nearly gave me a migraine. And I remember watching it and I was like, oh my god, it gave me a headache. That was a really good scene, though, where you see the silhouette falling. It was great. I love Vertigo a lot. And I remember when I first saw it, it reminded me of the opening to Mad Men. And so they said Mad Men actually technically copied that. And so, yeah, Vertigo is great. I love this movie a lot. And the plot is great. And then W has to be Whiplash. Yep, Whiplash is really great. The music is great in this movie. J.K. Simmons stole the entire movie. I love the movie. The music is great. Everything about this movie this was a damn good movie. I loved Whiplash, and the music, the cinematography, the acting, the story was just so awesome. The drumming was really great. I loved Whiplash. J.K. Simmons was so good in this movie, and so was Miles Teller. And I loved Whiplash a lot. Really, really great movie. One of the best music films I've seen. Loved Whiplash. And then X would have to be X-Men: Days of Future Past. Definitely my favorite. My favorite out of the X-Men movies. Well, with the X-Men in it, my favorite movie in the X-Men universe is Logan. But this is my favorite movie with the X-Men in it. I love this movie a lot. This movie's great. I like how they go back in time, and how Wolverine goes back in time, and the action scenes are great in this movie, and I really like this movie a lot. The football scene is my favorite scene in the entire movie, where Wolverine drowns, and the football scene is so good in this entire movie. And yeah, I love this movie a lot. X-Men: Days of Future Past is great. Love Days of Future Past. And the scene with Quicksilver when he's running in the kitchen, that was also great. And the scene where Wolverine wakes up in 1973, that part was awesome too. This is definitely one of my favorite superhero movies. Loved X-Men: Days of Future Past. And then why is Your Name? Your Name is really great as well. One of my favorite animated movies. I love definitely a really great anime and a good romance. I love Your Name. Your Name is awesome. The atmosphere is beautiful in this movie, and the animation is beautiful as well. One of my favorite animated movies. Loved Your Name. I talked about it in my top 10 favorite movies of the 2000s, of the 2010s. It's so good. I loved Your Name. The animation was beautiful. The atmosphere was beautiful. I loved the story and the chemistry between the two characters. They were so good in this movie. I loved Your Name. Your Name was beautiful. And then Z would have to be Zack Snyder's Justice League. I loved Zack Snyder's Justice League. Way better than the 2017 Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League was awesome. The story was awesome to this movie. The visuals were great, and the action scenes were great, and the effects were awesome. Every single thing was so much better about this movie. Everything. And I love this movie a lot, and it has a really great story, and the action is great. Love this movie. And the musical score, oh my god, one of the best musical scores I've ever heard in any movie. Love the musical score. And yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League is awesome. Definitely my favorite movie in the DCEU movies. I love this movie a lot. Zack Snyder did such a good job with this movie. The only gripe I have with this movie is that it's really long. It was little bit longer than it needed to be. Could have been narrowed down to maybe 3.5 hours. And in the scene where the there was a little too much slow motion. If they cut out all the slow motion scenes, not all of them, some of the slow motion scenes were cool, but there was just more slow motion scenes than there needed to be. If they cut out some of those, it could have been a little bit shorter, but otherwise I loved Justice League, the Snyder Cut. This movie was really awesome and really great. One of the best superhero movies I've seen, and surprisingly really great. I love the Snyder Cut. Really great movie. So yeah, that was for my favorite movies from A to Z. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this list? If not, give me your favorite movies down in the comment section from A to Z. Comment below, let me know. And if you like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like. Alright.